kinesiology and fitness and promotion. I am a registered kinesiologist, but yeah, I'm back at school doing human resources management post-grad, looking to get into workplace wellness and how to make benefits in the workplace like inclusive for people with disabilities or people with diabetes, because a lot of companies don't have great benefits. So being an advocate for that is kind of my goal.
Thank you, Emily. Deborah?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I received the DHS scholarship a really long time ago. I think it was one of the first years it was ever happening. So it's amazing how far things have come. I'm a registered dietitian in Ottawa right now. I have my own private practice, and I focus a lot on sport and performance nutrition. I also am a certified personal trainer, so that's on the other side of my business. I do work with clients doing some fitness training and CrossFit stuff. Originally, I had a degree in the arts, so art history and sociology, and then I completely changed paths into what seems like a really much more sensible fit for all the things that I'm doing in my life now. Yeah, so mainly seeing clients one-to-one and also working more on social media and online stuff, so I can bring some of that stuff to more group settings and online coaching. So that's kind of my business goal for the next year.
Yeah, Labib, last but not least.
Yeah. Hey everyone, my name is Labib. I'm really excited to be a part of this discussion with my fellow speakers and all of you here. So thank you. I can really appreciate the opportunity to interact with people from the outside world. I'm an alumni of the Diabetes Hope Foundation, having received my scholarship in 2012. And I've had diabetes for about 14 years. So, fitness is always a really big part of growing up for me. And what started out as a convenient means of controlling my blood sugars has manifested into a lifestyle that's so much bigger than a number on a meter. So I'm currently doing a research-based master's at the University of Toronto in medical biophysics, where I'm looking at artificial intelligence and using it to understand the brain a little bit better. I hope I can share some of the many lessons I've learned, and I look forward to taking away a lot from our discussion today.
So just to give everyone a little overview of what we're planning to cover and go over tonight, as we mentioned, it's definitely this focus on how to stay healthy during this very unique time that we're going through right now. And there's no perfect answer, and there's all sorts of, different things that us here that we're working through and that you might be working through. So again, as we go, if you have any questions, any comments, please share them in the chat with us. We'd love to get to them if we can. We're going to be chatting a little bit about how each of us, or how everyone here, again, our panelists, are managing their diabetes during this time, in relation to stress, physical activity, diet, and ultimately how we're working to stay healthy, both mentally and physically. So going over some strategies in terms of dealing with isolation, hobbies and ways of connecting with people, and also again keeping our bodies as healthy and as active as we can during this time. So to get started, I want panelists to elaborate a little bit more on some of your concerns and anxieties that are passing through your mind right now with relation specifically to your diabetes care. So an example of this could be the way your access to the supplies that you have right now, or again, managing your physical activity. What's kind of the biggest thing that's causing you anxiety during this time when we're at home, we don't have access to the things that we generally do? Labib, can you start us off with that one?
Yeah, for sure. So I know personally for me, the change in routine has definitely been, tilting the balance, so to speak. I think as diabetics in particular, we can attest to the importance of routine and predictability. So when your body is so used to a specific level of activity or, certain meals at specific times of the day, you have a lot of your insulin settings catered to that routine. And, it can be hard when that imposed structure is kind of lost. So, definitely a lot of troubleshooting, especially when you're trying to compensate through alternative means of activity, especially if it's not the sort of activity you're used to. So, just getting back into the groove of things, finding a new routine, making the changes that you need to, and, seeing where it goes.
You mentioned a change of routine there, and I think we'll touch on that a little bit more as well, but that's huge, I think, for a lot of us. I know myself, and I think some of the others here as well. Anastasia, what about you?
So for me, change in routine is definitely a big one, especially when it pertains to exercise. So I'm used to heavy weightlifting. I do not do any cardio at all, but now with COVID and the gyms being closed, I have to resort to pretty much only aerobic activity. And it's management of my blood sugars is much different when I lift weights versus when I run. And I find I'm experiencing a lot more lows. So relearning how to manage blood sugars with a different type of exercise, with no option to return to the previous type of exercise that I prefer, has definitely been a challenge. And additionally, I'm sure there are other type 1s out there who are essential workers. So as a pharmacist, I have to go out, interact with the public, and there's definitely some concerns associated with that. When you're exposed potentially to the virus, there are certain risks associated with that as well.
I know I'm experiencing the same thing, again, trying to manage blood sugars with quite a bit of a decreased level of physical activity, just not being on my feet as much and sitting and that type of thing. Deborah, what about you?
Actually, my sugars have actually been cooperating. Cross my fingers, I don't want to jinx that. But yeah, I mean, 100%, I think I'm used to getting like a lot more intense activity. Similar to Anastasia, I tend to lift heavier weights, and although I was starting to train for a marathon, so that's okay. But I don't have the same kind of time. I think I have the kids at home, which is different. They're not in school, they're not in daycare. So it's also that just sort of like, how much time can I spend on me, and how much time should I be spending with them, and the guilt of, letting them watch their iPads while I have my workout. And so I'm only doing 30 minutes versus an hour. And I think all of that creates anxiety. You feel like you're not doing enough, and there's a lot of push and pull. I mean, I think fortunately right now my blood sugars are kind of cooperating, but yeah, I mean, different routine, different schedule, waking up later, eating, like, kind of all over the place. So it just kind of makes you feel kind of off your game. And I don't know, I think we have good days and bad days, and some days I'm like in a better mood, and other days it's just like, you just feel like you need space. And yeah, it's definitely challenging, but I guess you just have to keep positive, and every day's a new day, right?
Emily, what about you?
I think like the routine thing, I find that like when I'm home, I definitely snack more, which is not the greatest for my blood sugars, because I'm like, oh, a cracker here and a cracker there is fine. And then I'm like, oh, wait, I've had 7 crackers. I should probably give myself some insulin. I find like I'm catching myself doing that stuff. The workouts and stuff, I have been pretty good. It's nice that you can like still get outside and walk. But I think my biggest anxiety is like going out and potentially, just because I know I don't have a very strong immune system, being open to potentially getting the virus is really scary for me. When I was diagnosed with diabetes, the reason I became diagnosed was I got swine flu. So seeing something like that coming again is really scary, because the last time a big virus like this happened, I got diabetes. So I'm just fingers crossed that everyone stays safe.
Wow, that's very crazy to hear, Emily. So on that note, I do want to ask our audience who's watching, what kind of anxieties are you guys feeling? Are you feeling the same ones that our panelists are feeling? Do you have different ones? So we want to hear from you so we can share your comments and even answer your questions around all of this. So I'll pass it back to Anna.
We've had a comment here that someone else who's really not struggling, but participating in the snacking. So I can definitely say I'm on that team or in that category as well. We are definitely not alone. The fridge is way too close. The cupboards are way too close. It's ongoing for sure. All of you that are here with us tonight, you're doing different things. Again, we're in the same scenario here together. But to start, Anastasia, so as you work as a pharmacist in a few different capacities, and you did touch on this a little bit already, but can you speak a little bit more to your transition to completely at-home work and how you are managing or kind of configuring your workout schedule and your physical activity with the working from home and the lack of access to a lot of the facilities that we're used to having access to.
Sure. So I definitely take advantage of outdoor walks, similar to Emily. And luckily, right before the COVID situation, I got a really nice pair of running shoes. So that was definitely some foresight on my part there. And what I also do is to shake it up a little bit. I go on YouTube and I search full body workout, let's say yoga, for example, or Zumba, or like some sort of hot keyword. And then I do a short YouTube video. And sometimes they're not very long, they're maybe 10 minutes long, but it helps kind of break your day and add activities in as you're working. Because also I've heard this from some of my colleagues, that when you're working from home, the barrier between when work starts and work ends is different. So the work might bleed into the evening as well, just because you're home, the computer's there, so you might be working longer even than you usually do. So by inserting these small little exercises throughout my workday, it helps me stay on my feet just a bit more.
Anastasia, that's a great point. Do you find, in terms of, again, holding yourself accountable to make sure you get those in, is there a way that you're making a schedule or kind of making sure that you do prioritize those times that you're setting aside for activity?
I just generally try to do it every day as best as I can. And it is a bit tricky to stay motivated just because you're in the same place every day. There's not really much change. So just inserting these small things into my day helps me feel better physically and mentally as well.
I wanted to jump to Labib, because you, again, also touched on this as well, and having, your physical activity and your workout regime is a really important part of your life and your diabetes management as well. And you've been doing this for quite a while. You've been, giving guidance to other people as well. With everyone being at home right now and our schedules being, all over the place in terms of a new routine, that type of thing, is there any advice or, again, comments you can give to people who may be looking to start a new workout routine or just to add more physical activity into their day-to-day lives in this current scenario that we're going through?
Definitely, I can definitely attest to the side of initiating a workout routine. Definitely helping out with that. The best advice I can give someone that wants to begin the workout process in general can be summed up in one word: baby steps. Often people set lofty goals they want to achieve, like 100 push-ups in one sitting, or like a 12-minute plank, and there's nothing wrong with that. But fitness is one of those things where it's really about the journey. It's far more encouraging to continue on this path by setting yourself very realistic milestones, along the way. So if your limit is like 5 push-ups and your goal is 50, maybe focus on hitting 10 first. It might not seem like much at first, but like a success is a success. And while you're not at 50, you're much closer than where you started. It's easier to embark on a long journey by reaching visible and easily attainable goals along the way. And this can help shape the exercises you start out with and will naturally change the routine evolves alongside you, especially if you're coming from one routine to another. I think people that are already kind of on the fitness side of things, some of them, kind of don't exactly look forward to switching up the routine from something that's strength-based to something that's maybe a little bit more aerobic-based. But I think at the end of the day, when fitness is your goal, you will find a way. And I think that a good question to start off with is, what does being fit mean to you? There's no right answer, right? It could be, looking like a bodybuilder. It can just be shedding like 5 pounds. It could, just be conditioning yourself, right? And you can really cater your exercise routine and kind of what you want to achieve based on all the resources that are available to you online. I also know that, fitness isn't just about exercise. I know Deborah can really speak to this part. Diet is super important. Sleep and recovery is very important as well. One of the biggest obstacles is the failure to sort of address this trifecta of exercise, sleep, and diet. And the idea of taking it one baby step at a time, can be applied here as well. And if this is something you're serious about in the long term, you should definitely take advantage of the fact that you're at home, develop healthy habits. It's by far the hardest thing to do, and now is probably the perfect time to start. And maybe when this is all over, you've got like a really great scaffold to just keep going.
We've got a lot of really positive comments. So I guess teaching and guiding people is really your forte. So thank you for sharing those encouraging words for sure. It makes it seem a little bit more doable is one of the comments that we got. So again, thank you.
I'm glad I can contribute.
I felt personally that there's so many things popping up on social media and on the internet about fitness and working out and these goals that seem often quite lofty. So there's competitions going around for, you know, like you said, how many push-ups you can do and get the abs you've always dreamed of in 30 days. And, you know, this is always floating around, but particularly right now. And I love the way you really highlighted, you know, this is personal. It's about each of us. Be kind to yourself. Baby steps. Be realistic. Yeah. With you, Emily, I know you're a registered kinesiologist. So you're working in a similar realm as Labib, and again, similar to Anastasia as well. Can you speak a little bit to how you've transitioned your work or your practice at home and completely online? So I know you're working with clients, some of your clients right now, on fully online training. So the challenges for yourself, for your clients, what kind of successes are you experiencing with that?
So yeah, I've moved all of my clients online. So we do Zoom calls or I'll FaceTime them, kind of whatever works best for them. It's hard because you are limited to the amount of equipment you have at home. So a lot of my clients have a specific, they're working on an injury or they have a specific goal, and taking that equipment away makes it a little bit difficult. So I had to rearrange most of the programs to kind of fit what they have at home. I think the hardest thing is not being there to actually physically, if they are squatting and they're not squatting with proper form, getting them into that proper form is really hard because I can only verbalize it. So trying to explain things with my words instead of being able to actually physically do it for them or help them to do it has been the hardest thing. I would say like the clients that I have had stay are very consistent. They do their calls on time, but majority of my clients have just decided not to continue, and they'll continue when I guess everything opens up again. So I've lost like a bit of business.
Is there anything that you would say to, again, people who are joining us here tonight or who are part of a regime, they've been working with someone and they're thinking about moving to online guidance or sessions such as yours? Is there any encouragement or advice you can give someone who's thinking about making that transition?
I think like going back to what Labib said with baby steps. It's baby steps. We're not going to be going outside and running 5K if you've never ran outside before. Running outside, running on a treadmill are very different mechanically for your body. So for me, I can run on a treadmill. I have a really hard time running outside. So me running 5K outside was not a goal that I could do right away. So taking those baby steps, finding someone to keep you accountable. I know like if you have an Apple Watch, you can add your friends and have like little competitions. So I compete with my mom, and it keeps both of us accountable to get up and do something active. My mom works from home, so she stands up and does a workout at the house or whatever it is. So having that person to keep you accountable. And then don't be scared of the video chat thing. It's super awkward at first, but you make it work. So once you like start to get kind of what your coach or your trainer or whoever it is saying, you kind of revert back to that muscle memory of, you know, how to do these exercises. I'm not giving any of my clients new exercises. It's all things that they've done before. It's just continuing with them, if that makes sense.
It's really great to hear that these services are still, you know, they're continuing to be offered online. So I know there's a comment here about someone who, again, another athletic therapist is doing similar types of sessions, physio and dietitians, as we're going to move into chat with Deborah next. it's really amazing, I think, that we're continuing to make these things work in a totally new way that we're not used to. And now, Deborah, again, as a dietitian yourself, I know that you have spoken about some of the challenges, again, of being at home and not having direct access to your client base, and the challenges of, again, figuring out how you are going to do your work from home with kids and, you know, life happening all at the same time. Can you speak a little bit more to that and what you are doing as a dietitian in this, you know, in this environment right now?
Yeah, I think initially when it all started, everyone I had like lined up for that first week or two, we just canceled. I think everybody was just kind of like, what's going on? And nobody had anything organized, and we just figured it's only going to be a couple of weeks or whatever, so we'll check back soon. And I think now that people are realizing that this is going to be, I don't know, like maybe a couple of months or more. The good news is I'm starting to see people kind of reaching out again. I mean, I have nowhere close to the number of clients that I had before, and I still think that some people are not as open, like Emily said, as for doing remote, because maybe they don't feel like they're going to get as much out of it. Or I think also people are just still in the mindset of, am I ready to make, you know, major changes? And speaking to what Labib was saying, which I actually thought was really relevant and pertinent, and is potentially changing that mindset to maybe now is a really good time to make changes, and hopefully now that like the initial scare and the initial like craziness, and now that we're sort of falling into a new routine, people will start appreciating the fact that they maybe do have a little bit more time and they are home more, which gives them a great opportunity to be trying out new recipes that they might not have had time to do, or, you know, do stuff with their kids, like baking stuff that they might not have ordinarily done, or, you know, it's just, again, shifting from like what we can't do to maybe what we can do now. And hopefully in the next, you know, again, I don't know how long this will go on for, but the next little while, I'll start to see more people realizing that, okay, like my health is still a priority here, you know, and we put it off, but I can't really put it off anymore. And, you know, these professionals are, you know, reaching out and doing what they can to still conduct sessions. So I am doing Zoom calls, I am doing FaceTime stuff, just like Emily. I am doing phone visits and trying to just check in and follow up with clients that may not be wanting to book, but just to also tell them that I'm still thinking about them and that I haven't forgotten about them. And I'm also doing a lot on social media to stay engaged with people, just messaging that way. So sharing my recipes. If you want, you can follow me at Dietitian Debs, because everything that I do at home, I'm sharing on Instagram as well. And hopefully, I think that my clients, a lot of them follow me there too. And that's just also a way to share, you know, that we are cooking and all the healthy things, and my good days, my bad days, and just kind of getting inside my life a little bit too. So just trying to stay connected that way is, you know, I think what I'm trying to do anyways, so that I don't completely not exist, and, you know, whenever we all get back to work. So yeah.
And I really think that the cooking, baking, being in the kitchen really helps kind of distract our time. So I'm going to throw a question out to our audience, and then Anna, you can ask all of our panelists, but what kind of baking, cooking recipes are you following? If you follow Deborah, what are your favorite recipes that she's done? But what are some things that you're doing in the kitchen to help you, I guess, stay healthy even during these times?
Deborah, on that topic, again, just so you know, this is a huge focus for you, is, again, you share a ton of your recipes and snacks, and particularly specifically for diabetics as well. Do you have anything that stands out that you've been cooking or that you've been sharing on your platforms recently?
I should mention too that I'm celiac as well, so that was a recent thing in the last couple of years. So everything I'm doing at home is gluten-free, and I know a lot of type 1s also are dealing with celiac too, so that can be a really good resource. But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to do stuff that the kids are enjoying for snacks, like healthy muffins that are fruit forward, using, you know, Greek yogurt and applesauce, and like the bananas, like the spotty bananas that are, I mean, I think that's been a really popular one. Is somebody I see in the chat there said banana bread. Yeah, so anything with bananas. I've got tons of really great healthy easy blender pancake recipes that are high protein with cottage cheese and oats. I use a ton of oat flour because it's just a nice, healthy, gluten-free flour. Just stuff that I think is going to be nourishing for myself, and also happy to have the kids eat as well. So things with, a lot of the bananas recipes have been really, really popular. And I use a lot of Greek yogurt and cottage cheese at home too as snacks. And I just posted the other day that I've got to get back on my game on the protein thing, because I've just been the day's been going by and I don't really know what I've eaten, and like my breakfast, and then I don't know what lunch is. It's just sort of like I'm picking here and there. And I think as a result of that, I've kind of fallen away from some of my good, getting my protein in every few hours and staying on top of that. So this week I actually set a goal for myself to do that. And I'll be sharing some of those things on Instagram as well. Just, egg whites and eggs and omelets and tuna and easy things to add to salads and stuff like that that are easy in the pantry and just quick to make at home too. The only thing is the access to the kitchens, or to the grocery stores rather. So I just, I'm trying to make the recipes too that I post like on the approachable side. We're not going to be going to the grocery store now for like obscure items that, you don't have in your pantry. So that's another consideration too.
Which is perfect. We just had someone comment that we should start a Diabetes Hope Foundation recipe book, which is a great idea.
It is a great
We'll
idea.
see if that gets off the ground. You guys will be the first to know for sure.
Very true. And we did have a comment on Facebook too that Mary Beth has been trying a lot of different recipes for diabetes. So Deb, I shared your website with her, and hopefully she can get even more recipes.
Awesome.
So yeah, now what are all you panelists now doing with cooking? Are you eating more healthy? Are you baking a lot more? I know I'm baking a lot more cookies and cinnamon buns, so my fiance is going to be a little plump coming out of this. So Anastasia, are you doing anything different in the kitchen now that you're home?
So I live in the GTA, and my commute can take anywhere from 2 to 3 hours per day. So when I cook, and me and my husband both have busy jobs, our food is usually quite simple. But recently, because I've had much more time, I've been doing way fancier recipes. So exploring different cuisines, also food that requires way more ingredients. I've also started a fresh herb garden, just as a small hobby, so I don't have to go into the grocery store for parsley or chives and things like that.
That's awesome. And I think that's really cool that you're in Oakville, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So it's really cool that you can even grow your own stuff, even while being in a more urban populated place. So that's really cool. Now, Emily, what about you? Are you doing anything different in the kitchen now that you're home?
I wouldn't really say different. I recently just moved out on my, I used to live with roommates and now I live by myself. So definitely changing the portion sizes. Like when I first started, when this all first started, I was still cooking as if I was cooking for 3 people, but there's only one of me. So getting used to cooking smaller portions, definitely going back to kind of what Deborah said, really focusing on getting my protein in, because I find the easy things aren't necessarily high in protein, but lots of eggs, lots of just very simple, quick things. I haven't been getting too crazy in the kitchen. Trying to stay away from baking stuff because I know that me and my snackings and my sweet tooth would be a bad combination.
Lviv, what about you?
I think for me, it's always been about getting really creative with your proteins. So I've been like a mad scientist in the kitchen when it comes to salads, and just figuring out different ways of just inserting strips of chicken breasts into my salads. I have this really, really good tasting protein powder. So I'm also doing some pretty creative things with smoothies. There is such a thing as too much protein, as I recently found out. So really working on the portions of powder and bananas and strawberry bananas for sure. But yeah, it's just playing around with the proteins for sure, and watching the carbs. Again, I had a party-sized bag of M&Ms, and that's long gone. So staying away from your usual snacks for sure. It's more like dietary restriction on my part, really.
Those mini eggs at Easter just absolutely demolished me. So those are out of the house. They're gone. They're not coming back in, at least for a little while.
I was gonna say, like, they couldn't have picked a month or like a couple of months where there's no holidays that involve junk food, because when you walk into the grocery store and you see 50% off all of the Easter candy and you're like, oh, I'm just gonna be sitting at home anyways. It's really difficult.
So I'm wondering if you can speak a little bit to how you are approaching the next, again, this unknown future, so the next few months, and how you're working on your mental health, whether that be through physical activity, because there's, huge correlations there, or just some ideas, some planning that you have done to kind of support that side of things as well. Labib, can you speak a little bit to that?
On the fitness goals side of things, they've essentially remained the same. Of course, a lot of the traditional barometers of measuring things like strength. I'm a power lifter, so basically the number of plates I can load on a bar was like, something that really encouraged me and drove me, but that's not there anymore. So nonce at a mirror, really. Mental health is definitely key. It's a day-to-day assessment that continues to change over the course of this entire isolation period. It can get better, it can get worse, and it's something you definitely have to be very cognizant about. But fortunately, I am working from home, so I've got something to distract me. But also trying not to be too hard on myself in terms of productivity. It's still a tough time, and we have to be realistic about the impact it's having on us, as mentioned, as we may try to ignore it. And yeah, definitely the whole issue, extending beyond working hours might be a little bit more tempting to do that because I didn't get as much work done. Oh, what's the harm in staying up until like 2 a.m. or something? Don't do that. Horrible idea. But just again, just keeping track of yourself, you really being paying attention to both, external variables that might be affecting you and your internal state for sure.
Yeah, I'm just going to cut in for a second. We did get a question, and I know we do want to address this a little bit later on, but Annie, she said, as diabetics who are relying on consistent deliveries and distribution of medical equipment and insulin, do you find yourself anxious that things won't deliver on time? What are your thoughts on limited distribution and to prevent hoarding? So Anastasia, I know we're kind of jumping around a little bit, Anna, but I do want to address this question because I think it is really important. It kind of goes hand in hand with mental health. Anastasia, I know that you're a pharmacist, so maybe you can touch a little bit on that topic, and then we'll jump back again.
For sure. So I can definitely understand that there are anxieties and concerns over medication hoarding and not getting access to insulin, which is a huge problem if you don't get it on time. As far as I know, and from what I've seen working in community pharmacy, shortages for now are not an issue. If a medication is on order or perhaps the pharmacy doesn't have it in stock, from what I've seen, we've always managed to get it to the patient on time. And for my own personal supply, I haven't had any problems either. And right now in pharmacies, we're restricting to dispensing only a 30-day supply, which is of course inconvenient, but at the same time prevents hoarding. So people aren't able to get, say, years of supply and just take all the supply to themselves. So everything is being doled out in small amounts to ensure everybody across the country is getting sufficient supply to sustain themselves throughout this COVID crisis. And as far as I'm aware right now, I haven't heard of any shipment issues or any production delays. So I think we're going to be okay.
Great. Thank you so much, Anastasia. And I really hope that answered your question, Annie. So any other questions or comments that you have, be sure to put them in the chat so we can see them and get them answered. Okay, Anna, I'm going to pass it back over to you so we can continue on with our mental health conversation.
Anastasia, I think it's very reassuring just to jump in there. I think it's nice. It's nice to to kind of relieve a little bit of anxiety around that, because I know that's a common thing that a lot of people are right now. Moving back into the idea of looking to the future and what we're all doing to help maintain the mentally healthy side of things. Deborah, is there anything specific that you've been doing or thinking or strategies?
I think, like I said, I like Monday was a really bad day, and I posted about it, and it was just, I don't know, everything just kind of got overwhelming. And I think sometimes if you look too far in the future and you have too much time on your hands and you're letting your mind get ahead of you too much, it's almost worse. So you know what, I think like just taking it day by day, we really can't predict how long this is going to be, and most of it's really out of our control. So I think what really helped me, and I think this is similar to what Labib was saying, is just setting those small goals. And I thought that to myself, like literally, I was like, what would I tell my clients right now? Like I'm in a bad place today and everything is like, seems like it's crumbling and I'm not being as productive as I want to be, and all of these negative thoughts. And I was like, if I heard a client saying that to me, like what would I say to them? And it's really just about setting those like specific goals, just a small goal. Like, so for example, Monday, like Tuesday morning, I woke up, I got out of bed at 7 instead of like wasting away the morning. Like, I don't know, it's just been lazing around. And then the next thing I know, it's lunchtime and I'm like, what have I accomplished this morning? So, I don't know, like I think that really helped me feel like I was more in control. It was just, this is something I can control. I can get out of bed early. I can get my workout done so that I don't have to manage my kids. And, they're still kind of chilling with their iPads at that point. And that it just, like by the time 9 o'clock ran around, I had already had a phone call with a client and a workout done. And then the rest of the day was free. And that may not happen every day, and it may not work out every day. And I may not, be motivated every day to get out of bed that early. But I think, I just said I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna add a little bit more protein to my day tomorrow. And those are the 2 things I'm gonna work on this week, because those are 2 things that I know are good priorities for me and that I'll feel good about doing if I get them in. So those are things I felt like I could change, right? I mean, I can't change that I'm losing a lot of business. I can't change that my kids are home. I can't change that I suck at being a teacher. I can't change a lot of things, but I can, so I think it's just making small goals that you really can work on. And at the end of the day, you feel more accomplished, and then that helps with your mood. It helps with your mental health. So, I mean, that worked for me, and I'm in a better place today than I was on Monday. And so I'm just going to carry on doing that, I guess. I also tell my clients that all the time, and we have to adjust our expectations. And I find, for me, at least, like just again, being honest, there's a point at which I'm like, okay, I want to be kind to myself, but I also don't want to make too many excuses. And there's always that push-pull between being like, well, am I just giving up and copping out and making excuses, or am I, being kind under the circumstances? So, again, like I think if you overthink it too much, you get overwhelmed, and it's really easy to get down on things. But sometimes you do need to let the positive things speak a little louder, like, what did I do today? What are the good things that I did today, So
I think that's really important, Deb, is to really see the positive in each day. Like for me, I've been staying in my pajamas almost every single day. So today my positive was actually getting dressed. And I ate way healthier today than I have over the last couple of days. So it's good that people can relate to what you're going through, because it really helps. It really helps us all stay together when we really can't stay together because we all have to social distance. So great points for sure.
And everybody's going through it. Like I posted that on my Instagram just to be, see like it was relatable. And so many people were sharing their experiences, because I think everybody is feeling the same way. And actually it does make you feel better, to know that like everybody's kind of going through it, and we're all kind of sucking some days, and then, and then it does help, I think, support. So I think also, like, if you're living alone, like I know some of you guys don't have people at home too, and having people at home, like the kids at home, can also be stressful, but it is also nice to have people around. So I think doing things like this, where you're connecting with friends, like doing FaceTime chats with friends and doing stuff like that, is also a really good, keep your spirits up, because you do feel isolated if you don't have contact. And even just venting, and like yesterday is like, yeah, Dad, I had like the worst day, like, and just being like, that's cool, Dad, like, just talking to my dad, it was good. Like, it's just good to share what you're going through, and it's nice. Everybody's going through it. So
yeah. So with that, and you kind of talked about the isolation part of things and living on your own, Emily and Labib, I guess you both are living on your own essentially. And so what are you both doing to create your positive mental health space, and your positive space in general? So Emily, we'll start with you first.
I've been FaceTiming my friends a lot. So I make it an effort. Like the other night we had girls' night. So we poured a glass of wine. We all went on FaceTime together and we had girls' night just like we would any other Friday, except not at someone else's house. I talk to my mom a lot, so she's working from home. She has like a little office set up in our basement, so I FaceTime her multiple times a day. And just like staying in contact with friends. So FaceTime, texting, calling, like I've talked to friends that I haven't talked to in months because I've got the time and they have the time, and our schedules, like no one's got work schedules right now. So it just works out. So just like keeping up relationships, I think, is like what's keeping me positive.
I think that's really important to keep up with communications and to make sure that we are staying together with all of our friends, figuratively speaking, of course. So Labib, what about you? I know that you're also living on your own too and kind of doing your thing. What are you doing?
Yeah, well, I mean, social media has been really big, whether it's, sending each other funny memes or, taking part in, in multiple different group chats. The genesis of new group chats has also been like a really big thing. So, there's no shortage of communication with people. But, maintain that personability, to be that face-to-face contact. Lots of video calls. Netflix party has been like a really big thing, and whoever made that extension for Google Chrome is a genius. And to find ways to enjoy the same things together, I think that's been really important for sure. I know personally, I feel very contained when I'm inside. So I did buy a bike, and I get some quality time with nature. I have a park nearby, so it's nice to hear birds and whatnot. But really, yeah, just try to maintain as much contact with people, especially with family. Family's a big thing. Definitely had a lot more time. It's just kind of like a positive upside, to delegate a lot of the time that you typically didn't have before to maintaining, keeping in touch and maintain those close relations with people that really matter to you. So I guess that might be just me saying, the silver lining in the gray clouds, but yeah, and I see in the comments too, TikTok. TikTok's great. There's an abundance of entertainment online for sure. But reach out to someone you haven't. Get in contact with an old friend from high school or from your undergrad days. I'm pretty sure they're going through the same thing that you are, and they would love to hear back from you too.
And that's a great point, is reaching out to someone who you can talk to. So I'm going to throw in a little bit of Diabetes Hope Foundation information here. So at DHF, we do have a few peer support programs. So if you are wanting to talk to somebody who can really understand what you're going through, reach out to us. We have our T1D Buddy program for ages 13 to 18, as well as our Hope Connects mentorship program for those who are in college and university. So again, reach out to us. We'll match you with someone who can really understand what you're going through. They're in isolation too, so they can provide you with some healthy food tips like Deborah can, and they can just provide you with a different perspective. So I do see that it is 6:25, so we are going to start wrapping up shortly. So if anybody has any last questions to ask our panelists here or any comments they want to throw in, let us know, and I'm going to pass it back over to Anna. So again, thank you all.
This hour always flies by, and I think what's amazing about this tonight, and again these sessions that we're doing, I'm just looking at a few more comments here about some really cool things that are happening. There's Deborah, you mentioned, and have people having a wine and cheese picnic across the lawn. I think there's all sorts of things, and these new ways to connect with people, and just kind of a chance to step back and reflect and look at, what we're doing, who we are, how we connect with each other, and that type of thing. So I think to kind of close things off, I first of all want to thank our panelists. I want to thank everyone else who has joined us here tonight. I know myself, I feel so grateful for the opportunity that Diabetes Hope has given all of us here and everyone who's joined us to connect with with each other. I think it's something that DHS continues to do at such an amazing high level. These sessions will continue for people to join us. So it's really been fantastic. Thank you so much to everybody.
If you have any comments and feedback, we would really love to hear from you. So be sure to either send us a message on Facebook. You can shoot me an email, Alex with 2 X's at diabeteshopefoundation.com. We do want to hear from you, but if you have any questions for our panelists as well, you can reach out to them via Facebook. Again, reach out to us so we can put you in contact with them. Well, with that, again, we would just really want to thank everybody for joining us, our panelists and our attendees. So until next time, be kind to one another and stay healthy, stay safe, and we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye. Good night.